Since the 1990s, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute has responded to violence by helping survivors build a community of healing. Before the pandemic, that community was plain to see in the annual Mother's Day Walk for Peace. To tell us about the event, a virtual walk for the second year in a row, is the Institute's program and events coordinator, BJ Osuagwu. Thank you very much for being with us, BJ.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Vijay, ordinarily the Institute would be just doing another Mother's Day walk, but interestingly enough, even though the Institute itself is a year older, this is a sort of a milestone. This is, I guess, the 25th anniversary of the walk itself.
Yes, so it is very much so the 25th anniversary of Mothers Walking for Peace, or the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. And it's a huge milestone, not only because of we're celebrating 25 years, but also because a lot of organizations don't make it this far. A lot of organizations don't have something that they can put a tagline to that lasts 25 years, 25 annual years of walking for peace. So it is really a big deal. And because of that, we wanted to bring a special walk, even in the midst of a pandemic, to everybody that supports us, all of our community partners, and anyone that just hears of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute for the first time.
Well, there were still many people in Boston who remember how the Institute got started, because it really was about one family's experience being survivors of violence, but it grew so much. And I guess one of the other things that's involved here was that this Institute, it didn't just address the problems family by family. This is a very across the board. They're really shaping a whole new way of looking at surviving violence.
Yeah, so my introduction to the Peace Institute was that of an organization that was getting ready to take their steps into the upper echelon of, I would say, nonprofit organizations, without sounding conceited, but the Peace Institute was now dipping their toes into so many different aspects of our individuals' lives, our survivors' lives, but as well as training in events and things of that nature as well. Having us do trainings in Broward County in Florida, having us do trainings in Michigan with DA's offices and police forces. So the Peace Institute has just been expanding their reach to not only like a national level, but also with the families as well, because the way that we try to impact the families that we're working with is in a way that it's not just one singular aspect of them being a survivor, because we will also help them with housing if they need it. We'll help them with finding schools for their kids. We'll help them with relocation. And once you become a survivor and you're introduced to the Peace Institute, you're there forever. There's no time limit on the time that we will pour into you. We'll pour into you whenever you need it. So.
You start with the sort of rapid response that the Institute has to get into, because when people become a survivor, it's instantaneous, or ordinarily people would have to invent all these wheels. You have this, crisis. You have a funeral you've got to help with, and I guess this is where the Institute can be really, really helpful for people right away.
Yes, so I can't take any credit for the processes in which have been created through the Peace Institute. So because of that, I will shout out Chaplain Tina Sherry, as well as her daughter and my boss, Ali Sherry Derulis. They have, and everyone else that went into creating this, but we do have a process in which we take when we have to respond rapidly to the tragedy of someone losing a loved one. And I think that's where our burial survivor guide comes into play. I know Tina has told this story 100 times, and every time it's impactful. But she talks about the death of her son, Louis D. Brown, and how when she had left the hospital, she had left with nothing in her hand. She had left with no semblance of what to do or where to go. And so she decided that it was not right for that to be the case. She decided that everyone should have an ability to know the next steps. Everyone should have the ability to be prepared for what's oncoming in the tragic loss of a loved one. And so in the creation of that burial and survivals guide, you get a detailed outlook on, okay, what is next? Whether that be court proceedings, whether that be funeral arrangements, whether that be impact funds that the state has allocated towards people that have lost loved ones to homicide. So that rapid response is something that has been created and curated and perfected over time, to the extent where now we're sharing this information with other organizations that are working in other towns and cities and states across the country, because it's just something that has been so something that has been so worked on, something that has been so really made in fire. So yeah.
Well, one other thing that can add to trauma for survivors is contact with the police. Even when the police are trying to be helpful, it can sometimes still be very hurtful. The Institute has tried to deal with that in some way over the years. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we live in a society where it's hard with everything that you see going on. It's hard for with everything you see going on with interaction between police and especially people of color and people of inner city communities, when you have to when at times you have to work with the police in order to work towards a common goal, right? So the Peace Institute has kind of been used and has kind of made themselves uh, uh, a bridge in that aspect, so that even when a family might feel uncomfortable with talking with the police, or may feel uncomfortable with the processes in which they're going through, the Peace Institute now becomes the bridge for that, so that you have the ability to get what you need while also feeling comfortable and safe.
I want to ask you about something that I've seen over the years at a number of these Mother's Day walks, and it still amazes me in a way. But I see people who carry the signs. They had this terrible loss. They should still feel sad. I understand that, and yet when they're talking with other survivors, there's something else going on. It's not sadness that I'm seeing on the surface, at least. But what's going on when these survivors, they get together, they give some kind of comfort to each other, and they let them know that we're not alone in this?
Well, I honestly think you answered the question in the question. These survivors are walking. They're seeing people that have gone through like experiences like them. They're seeing people that have felt the things that they have felt, and they don't feel so alone in that moment. And I think that's why the Mother's Day Walk for Peace is such an important event. A lot of families that go through this type of loss, they don't know how to adequately deal with the loss that they're going through. They now, with the Peace Institute, we have a system in which they can in real time figure out how they can be helped in practical means, but they don't have necessarily an outlet on how to handle things emotionally and mentally. And the Peace Institute has also worked on that as well, and we've done that with our healing modalities in terms of our peace play. Our peace play is our sand tray therapy. And, starting working here almost a year ago, I I will be honest, I doubted the the effectiveness of our peace play. I doubted the effectiveness of our sand tray therapy. And that's because I always questioned how this could be such a strong healing modality. But it was my first peace play training in which I helped organize, that we invited some mothers that had lost family members, had lost sons, brothers. And one of the mothers had talked about losing her son and how she hadn't really had time to grieve because of everything that goes on that when you lose a loved one. So she's saying that she had never really had time to grieve. She's saying that she had never really had time to cry yet over the loss of her son. And doing this peace play, being in a space where you are forced to sit down and reflect on things that are weighing on your heart, gave her the ability to cry. And in that moment, I realized how powerful these healing modalities are. So, to your original point about the walk, I feel like it's a similar situation where you have a lot of people that are coming together for a like goal, and a lot of people that have experienced like things. And in doing that and in seeing that, it's a powerful, powerful thing. Whereas these people are moving, they're realizing I'm not alone, and I'm honoring the life of the loved one that I have lost.
I know in past years, the survivors have done a lot of their own organizing with their groups and their pledges, but it was easy before. You just show up at town field and you'd get going. But this year it's a virtual walk. So if people want to take part in this, what's the next step they should be taking right now?
Yeah, so the next step that you should be taking is, one, if you haven't already, you should go to the website mothersdaywalkforpeace.org, because there's so much critical information that's on there that will help you guys through any of the questions that you have. But we are going to be doing a virtual walk, which will be broadcasted on NECN. Boston on Mother's Day. We're going to be having Tina speak. We're going to be having guest speakers. We're going to be having survivors talk. We're going to be having videos that we've created and curated to show you guys what the Peace Institute has really been up to in the past year. Not only what we've been up to, but this is how we're going to celebrate 25 years of walking. And we, it's funny because as we're planning for something like this in the midst of a pandemic, we want to at all times bring you guys the best product that we possibly can. All of our survivors, all of our community partners, all of everyone that has associated with the LDBPI, we want to have the ability to bring you the best possible product that we can. And I think that you guys will see that on Mother's Day. So if you tune in to NECN on Mother's Day, you'll be able to see us. We'll also be broadcasting it live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you don't want to watch it on TV, you have full reign to watch it on your phone, watch it on your laptop, and please just come join us, enjoy. If you're feeling moved to donate, that would be helpful. We have a goal of raising $600,000 this year, and we're getting close to that goal, but none of it would have been possible without the people that have been supporting us.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us, and wishing you the best on this milestone walk, even though it's virtual.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation to come speak with you guys. I appreciate the invitation to come share something that I'm passionate about, and I look forward to doing this again, hopefully. And I hope that you're going to be able to join us on Mother's Day.
Right. Well, thank you very much. That's DJ Osuagwu from the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. We'll have more news in just a moment.